right, the South African Language Board says it will engage with political parties and relevant stakeholders on the Basic Education Laws Amendment Act. Over 41 organizations march against Clause 4 as well as Clause 5 of the Act that deals with language as well as admissions policies at schools. The Act was signed into law in September, but President Cyril Ramaphosa delayed the implementation of the contentious clauses to allow for more consultation. Let's now bring in the CEO of the PanSALB African Language Board, Schultz, who is joining us to have this conversation. Lance, a very good morning to you. From PanSALB's side, what do you make of the protest action that was taking place, or the march that was taking place at the Voortrekker Monument earlier on this week? But of course, it's not the first time that there has been issues being raised with the Bela bill at the time.
Firstly, a very good morning to you, Eldrin. Thank you for having me again on your show, and a very good morning to all of your viewers. So I think the principle that we are wishing to invoke is the fact that the Constitution, in fact, the genesis of the Constitution, provided for the non-diminution of rights of all of our official language, ensuring that the status is upheld. And what we had found very problematic with AfriForum, the other civic groups, as well as the political parties, is that they actually had a right, and they mandated constitutionally, so either on our own initiative as PanSALB or on the receipt of a written complaint, to investigate the allegations of violation of any language right, either a language policy or a language practice. And it then is a compulsory mechanism that we need to mediate in this regard and try and find solutions to either resolve the dispute or to rectify any act or omission. And that is actually provided in subsection 4 of the Act, and we found it most regrettable. So we do hope that we'll be able to engage on it. We will be reaching out to these various parties as well to see if we cannot find a mechanism to break the perceived deadlock.
But is there a case, do you think, that has been made for an argument around a lack of protection for languages, in specific in this particular case? AfriForum, as well as those other political parties that were marching, was around the protection of Afrikaans as a language.
So we have studied the Act as well as Section 4 and 5, and our submission is that PanSALB, by virtue of its structure, has got a national language body for Afrikaans, and in fact we've got national language bodies for all of our language, where we advocate for the languages, where we ensure that multilingualism is upheld, and to ensure that there is parity with regard to these languages. We would request that this mechanism be invoked to investigate this, to have a look to ensure that no community or none of our official languages are deprived in respect in this instance with Section 4 and 5. So I would not wish to pronounce on the current structure. As you may know, that the presidency also has got a clearinghouse, and they are intent on bringing the parties, these political parties, together to try and find a mechanism to resolve on where the impasse is. And we would wish to engage with the parties to understand what the perceived issues are, and then to rectify any of the acts or omissions that we feel may be there. So we would not wish to pronounce on it until these parties have actually made written submissions to us in order for us to thoroughly investigate the matter.
Sure, and I respect and understand that, Lance. But there was a public consultation period that had taken place. It went through Parliament. Organizations such as yourself would have been invited as well to make their submissions on the proposals that were on the table. And did PanSALB make a submission during the public consultation period, or to Parliament, or even to the NCOP, with regards to that contention around Clause 4 as well as Clause 5?
Yeah, so PanSALB hadn't made a formal submission. The engagements to predate my time and a large number of the executive. However, in the run-up to the promulgation, it was our held view that if there are any issues from any groups that believe that there needs to be revision, that they could invoke the requirement for us to look into it. And as a result, we are currently engaging with the department also to ensure that any perceived issues is actually dealt with. And we believe that this is an opportunity for us to actually get involved in Section 4 and 5, which looks at providing the powers to an MEC to make a decision whether other community groupings might not derive benefit of inclusion within the school is something that we would actively want to engage on. In addition to having a look at the stats essay results, the most recent results that was published, to ensure that all community groupings are actually sufficiently taken care of. But the important thing that we want to state is that this should not be to deprive Afrikaans, but same token, it should not deprive any other language groupings that might derive benefit from participating within the schooling system.
Yeah, and with that said, Lance, does it mean that from your predecessor's point of view and where you're sitting right now, that there was an oversight, that there was a lack of active participation from PanSALB, considering its mandate as well, and that this law also affects language at its core? And the reason that I'm asking this question as well is that PanSALB has been accused of having a lackluster response when it comes to protection as well as the development of indigenous languages.
My view always is, when matters like these serve, is for us to work within the structures of the organization. And I cannot talk for any decisions that have been made or not made previously. We are faced with the matter now, and we need to ensure that the provisions within the Constitution, the PanSALB Act, as well as the Use of Languages Act, are actually preserved. And the promotion of language is something that we very strongly advocate for. And I would rather wish that we find a consensus position and that deals with the matter, so that we do not have the ongoing discourse that we have. So the action or lack of action, I think, is post fact. We are seized with the matter now, and our resolve is that we want to be a party to find a conciliatory role that we can play in this regard with all of the parties involved.
Okay, so just explain to us what happens now, the invitation to the various stakeholders, and after that, what the process will entail.
Well, the process would be is that we will be reaching out to all of the parties. We have started with that already. We will be engaging and activating our structures and our internal mechanism, including our linguistic human rights desk. And we will be then taking these submissions from these various parties, and we will be engaging government also to try and see whether there is any mechanisms that could be put in place that deals with the aspects within Clause 4 and 5. Whether it is kept in its entirety or whether there are revisions is something, I think, through this process, but ultimately we would not want to compromise the discussions that need to take place, and ensuring that these linguistic communities, including Afrikaans, that there is no diminution of their rights, which is, as I predicated this discussion with, provided for in the Constitution.
Yeah, would this entail having a conversation with the president? Because when the bill was signed, the president had indicated that clause 4 and 5 will be suspended for at least 3 months. I don't know how long your process is going to take. Will it be within the 3 months? We're already on month number 2. Would you be asking the president to delay?
All right, so as had been seen through the public media platforms also, we have taken cognizance that the president has invoked a clearinghouse that is seized with dealing with the matter. Our stance on it is that we think that the two processes needs to be seamlessly integrated. We will allow our process, however, to conclude. That will be for these submissions to be received. We will then engage the national language body that is responsible for this, and we will also engage through our internal process, our linguistic human rights desk, and ensure that we come up with a set of conciliatory mechanisms that we believe should be looked at, with the view that the clearinghouse that has been proposed will actually take this in line with whatever revisions are going to take place. So I think we need to allow the process to unfold, to get these parties around the table, and for us to make an informed decision as to what recommendations we as PanSALB will be advancing.
Okay, thank you so much for your time. Lance Schultz there is the CEO of PanSALB, that is the Pan-South African Language Board, which has taken note of the protest action that was taking place earlier on this week. And as you heard now, a process that is going to start where submissions will be made and conversations with the various stakeholders with regards to Clause 4 as well as Clause 5 of the Bela Act.